Hello, what's up, Chicago Bears fans? Welcome to the Chicago Bears Huddle podcast, your UK take on all things Chicago Bears. I'm your host, Owen James, guys, and this is your daily update here on the 22nd of May. Yes, we are in OTAs. Some very impressive pictures and some very impressive videos coming out of the Bears training today. Some fantastic stuff. Great link-ups between Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze, but some fantastic work from DJ Moore. Some synchronicity from the defense. Some fantastic stuff to watch and to see as a Bears fan. It's good to see the team getting together, working together, and moving in the right direction. And I think, one of the things we're kind of picking up, big pickup from this session, from this whole start to the season. And guys, I get it. It's football in shorts. It's not real football. No one's getting hit in the face. No one's getting punched. No one's getting smashed. And no one is getting put to the test big time as of yet. But it's looking good so far. Now, Coach Ben Johnson, has I think put completely the right foot forward in terms of his start to his time as the Chicago Bears head coach. I think as Bears fans, we all kind of have this sense of trepidation, don't we, going into any season, that any new head coach is going to be a Matt Eberflus, is going to turn out to be a Matt Nagy, is going to be a complete and utter disaster, and it's all going to go wrong. I think we've all been hurt too much in the past. We've all seen it all come crashing down on too numerous an occasion, and that's the worry. That's the worry, isn't it? But look, I think with this staff that we've got at this moment in time, the Declan Doyles, the Press Taylors, the JT Barretts, the Dennis Allens, the Eric Bieniemys, the Dan Rauschars, there is some fantastic staff within this building to work with our players. But Ben Johnson has, I think, started to demonstrate that he is the man, and he has got the right attitude. He has got a winning attitude, a positive attitude, and a can-do attitude. You only got to listen to him. And, the way he talks the game, the way he's talked about the game in the press availability yesterday, the way he's kind of communicated what he expects from the players, his expectations, let's make them uncomfortable and let's get them good and get them used to being uncomfortable. And then, of course, there was the other element that came into it a little bit as well, which really impressed me, which was this, the fact that at training camp, at these OTAs, sorry, not training camp yet, at the OTAs, and it's only OTAs. And there's always an element of it's only OTAs. It's not quite, it's not quite training camp yet. It's not quite this regular season yet. It's not quite the official stuff yet. People make mistakes. People make mistakes. It's fine. People, it happens. Just carry on, guys. We'll get there in the end. Don't you worry. But no, straight from the off, he is there laying down the ground rules. He is there drawing the line in the field and saying, that is the line. These are the rules. You follow them. If you don't follow them, you're going to hear from me. And I think that's good to see. No messing. Top attitude, positive attitude, clear expectations. If you expect the best, you get the best. If you expect average and you let it slide, you'll get average, you'll get poor. And that's not what we want. And we can't afford to have that. This organisation is moving in the right direction. And, we can talk, can't we, about false dawns. We can talk about being previous off-season champions. But, you've really got to feel that with this current roster, with the way that Ryan Poles has put this together, with the work that's been done by Ben Johnson, with the fact we've gone out and spent $13.2 million a season on a head coach, the top offensive mind in the game at the moment, that we are really pushing to make this a winning season. Now, look, I'm not saying for a minute that the Bears are Super Bowl contenders, that they're going to go and trouble the Eagles, the Commanders, the Bills, the Chiefs. I'm not saying that for a minute. But what I am saying is that this organization, this franchise is finally moving forward in the right direction. It is finally pushing itself into a winning mentality. And I think, Ben Johnson is very much the articulator of that. He is the motivator of that. He is the very antithesis, he is the very emphasis, the very example of that winning mentality. I think the Bears have really pushed this offseason to build a roster. And again, I'll say what I've said all along. It's been off-season champions. Cleveland Browns have been off-season champions, and they're probably one of the worst teams in football. The Isle of Misfit Toys. We have been one of the worst teams in football after being off-season champions. So And it's such a stupid saying anyway, off-season champions. You know, it's just absolutely ridiculous saying. No one is the off-season champions. It's what happens once the season gets underway that actually genuinely matters. And I get that. But, you look at the work that's been done in terms of, the building of the O-line, the getting of more weapons for Caleb, giving Caleb the best possible opportunity to succeed, getting him a proper coach, getting him a proper offensive coordinator, a proper quarterbacks coach that will watch tape with him and help him to improve. But Ben Johnson has, I think, really been ultimately very impressive in what he's done and the way he's come in and he's worked forward. It's bringing a synchronicity, it's bringing an intensity, it's bringing an integrity, and it's bringing a fire to this Bears roster. And you've got to take that as a positive. You really have. And look, like I said, there's been false dawns in the past. Of course there has, 2018. There's been false dawns. But you've got to hope that this is a line in the sand. And it's a line in the sand not only in terms of expectations, but in terms of where the franchise goes from now on, that it is on an upward trajectory and will stay on that upward trajectory for the long term. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I still think there are weaknesses within this roster. I still think there are positions that need to be addressed. I still think we're light to edge rusher. Yes, we have Montez Sweat. Yes, we have Dayo Adeyingbo. But I think we're missing a third piece to that. I think interior defensive line looks pretty good with Grady Jarrett and Gervon Dexter. I think, the secondary looks pretty good. In terms of that, the safeties look good. You look at the O-line, it looks good. The QB is good. The wide receiver room is power packed nowadays with Luther Burden, Rema Dunze, DJ Moore, Olamide Zacchaeus. There's some quality players there. There's Cole Kmet. There's the Colston Loveland in the tight end room. There's quality there. There is real quality there. Yes, the running back room is a concern. Can DeAndre Swift return to form? I think there's optimism that behind a better offensive line, which this one clearly will be with Dolman, Jackson and Tooney being added, that he can move forward, that we can get back perhaps that excellent over 1,000-yard season that he had. That improvement. I think it's often forgotten that, as bad as he perceivably was last season, he still rushed for over 900 yards behind an awful offensive line with a dreadful offensive coordinator, with about 3 million offensive coordinators last season. I do still see that as a weakness. And look, there are wild cards within that running back room. Carmen Ongai being the biggest of them all. Roshan Johnson. What can they do? But look, I think, they are the areas of weakness. Now, whether or not Ryan Poles addresses those, whether or not he goes out and finds someone for those, we don't know yet. There are questions, I think, that will come in training camp. I think that any moves the Bears make in terms of strengthening the edge rusher position, strengthening the running back position, will come once we get to training camp. This is a season where I think there is a real change in the philosophy. The money is being committed. You look at that roster, there's a good percentage of those players who are around now for the long term. There won't be a huge wedge of free agent cash next off-season that has been for the last couple of off-seasons. It certainly will be a case of building through the draft, even more so over the next couple of years, given the amount of money tied up in players at this point in time. So yes, money does need to be freed up. Money can be freed up. Deals can be restructured. Money can be moved around. Money converted to signing on bonuses, etc. for the likes of Dayo Adeyingbo, whose obviously contract next year is 20 mil. Jalen Johnson's could be restructured. DJ Moore's could be restructured. So there could be restructures put in place to generate money. There are obviously players around at this moment in time. J.K. Dobbins, Nick Chubb, Gus Edwards for the running back room. You've got Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, people talking about a second round pick and a late round pick for Hendrickson, but him needing a new deal before he signs on the dotted line. I don't know. I don't really want to get into Hendrickson on this video. But guys, look, there is a need, I think, still to strengthen. And that's where perhaps this roster isn't a Super Bowl winning roster as of yet. But like I said, I think you've got to be optimistic. You've got to look at what Ben Johnson has brought and what he is bringing to this roster. He could be, very much be the next Kyle Shanahan, the next Sean McVay, or could he just be the next Ben Johnson? Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching the Chicago Bears Huddle podcast. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And guys, let's bear down. Catch you later, Chicago.